Welcome to the Change Life Destiny podcast, where healthcare is being reimagined one conversation at a time. We spotlight the people, innovations, and ideas moving us from sick care to self-care and from reactivity to true prevention. A place to connect, learn, and build a new future together. Get inspired at changelifedestiny.com. Let's dive in. Stephanie back with the Change Life Destiny podcast series. And today I am here with Deniece and Alan from PlasticTox and Aero Labs company. So we are so excited because I know that this particular conversation is going to apply to every single person that is listening to this podcast. This is something that is so exciting, so new, so fresh, and something that I know that I haven't seen yet. So let's take it away. Why don't you both introduce yourselves and let us know a little bit about how you found yourself in this space talking to me today?
Sure. My name is Alan. I'm the CEO of Aero Lab Solutions. We've been up and running since 2023. Plastic Tox has been live since the end of 23. And I'll hand it over to Deniece. Deniece, we met fairly recently.
Alan's cheating.
Oh.
So he's so humble. He's got so much more to say than just that. I met Alan in fall of 24
Yeah.
with a client that I was working on who had a product that was showing to eat away microplastics, and they wanted a test that would prove it. And so I did some research and I found Aero Lab and the Plastic Tox test, and Alan and I began talking, and that was such a good, successful partnership that now I get to represent the test and Alan and the company at various trade shows and conventions, which is where we met. We were
Right.
at Change Life Destiny, and I got to teach one of the master classes on Friday.
So fantastic. Well, let's just go ahead and dive on in because I know that you're going to have a lot to say about what this does because microplastics, I mean, my gosh, hello, I think we've covered the earth in them, right? Pretty much. And
Unfortunately,
so,
yes.
and they're affecting people. So let's talk a little bit about what Plastic Tox is, what Aero Labs does, and how that comes together where a practitioner or even somebody who might be a health conscious consumer that's listening, how they can connect the dots about what it is that they're seeing in their daily lives and what the solution is that you provide.
Sure. So, I mean, this whole thing started. I've been a toxicologist for about 10 years, and I was just doing some consulting work, kind of going all over the country, helping clinical labs, forensic labs, and eventually an environmental lab that was here in Michigan. I was helping just a lab that was working on PFAS testing, right? Checking blood for PFAS. And that's been popular for several years. At the time, the school curriculum was really focusing on teaching my youngest about plastic in the ocean. That was just being discovered at the time, and she pitched the question to me while I was working at the environmental company. She asked if we were testing for plastics as well as the PFAS, and we were not. And I went to this company and I said, guys, we got to get on this. This is going to be a big deal. And they weren't interested, and neither was my alma mater or any of the people I reached out to. So I pulled the team together, and we got this thing off the ground in fairly short order. And I guess the rest is history.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So how, by the way, how old was your daughter at this time?
Oh man, so she's about to turn 18, so she would have been 15.
Ah, amazing. Well
She's
done
the
for your
best.
daughter for actually posing the question and getting this very I mean this generation of young adults and teenagers that are growing up, they're so with it. They get it.
Absolutely.
So it's so fantastic that she asked you that question. Okay, so you have found the lab. You are, so what's the next step?
Sure. So, well, the next step as we kind of are going through this, we were able to get it. We realized pretty quickly that the only way this was going to be successful and that we could actually get a lot of data. That's what's lacking right now is data. Is to make this in a kit so that people can just do it at their house. There was a few labs that had done similar tests, but you had to actually go to the lab,
Mm,
and that was real hard because there's just it's tricky work, right? All those bottles, the vials that you send in blood, those are all plastic vials, and they should be. I mean, you don't want blood in the mail, right? These glass stuff, it breaks.
Right.
So it was doing a kit, and that really opened my eyes. Just in trying to assemble a kit, the amount of stuff that we build a kit and it comes back contaminated, and every iteration in this 6 month trial period that we did was just finding vendors, finding different types of materials. It turns out that all the printed materials have to be done on an old inkjet printer, and we have to find some paper manufacturers that are still doing sort of like old school methods,
Yeah.
because everything was there was nothing that was not a potential vector of contamination.
Wow.
And once we got that together, then that was, honestly, it took longer to figure out that than the lab part of it. It's just getting
Right,
that
right.
kit.
You knew what you
Yeah,
wanted to do, but trying to
yeah,
find the yes, so that's something that I don't think very many people would think about is that yes, we're testing for microplastics, but we cannot use microplastics in the in the
yeah,
test kit. Oh my goodness. Okay, so you got that piece figured out, and
yeah.
then so what? How does the test work?
Sure. It's not uncommon. It's a finger stick test, right? That and we're working on a few other mediums, but the one people are thinking about is the one where it's a finger stick test, a tiny little blade, you do a little finger stick, a few drops of blood on a card, which is it's made of wool and paper and cardboard, that goes into a sleeve, that goes into an envelope, and it goes into one of the labs that does the processing.
Okay.
Both of these labs that do processing are completely plastic free from the ground up. It's all chromed out as far as the shelving goes. Everything inside of this lab, even the floors, you couldn't use regular flooring. We had to use a type of silicone seal that they use on roofs, is what we had to use for the flooring. Special
Wow.
paint, everything, everything from floor to ceiling, it had to be specially sourced. But we now have two functioning labs that are able to perform plastic tox.
That's amazing. Okay. So PlasticTox is measuring exactly what?
Sure. It's the proprietary blend of stuff that we use. It binds to all polymers, and it can tell you how many polymers are in this sample and how large or small the polymers are. These different size ranges, they're really more for clinical use. They can tell you what vector they possibly got in, right? The smallest ones, that's going to be airborne. The mid-range ones are probably ingested food or water, and then the large ones, they're really too large to have gone through either barrier, so you probably got it through a medical procedure. And we're the only, there's a lot of other ways of there's a lot of other technical methods of measurement just in all chemistry. The one that we don't do is the only way that you can get those size metrics down, which are super useful for anyone from doctors to people doing viewing it on more of the social level, trying to get data for government use, municipal use, stuff like that.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So fantastic. So maybe what we need to do then is talk a little bit about maybe because it seems obvious to me, but the why of why we're doing this. Why did we need this test? Why do we need these things? And maybe Denise can speak a little bit about that as well.
Definitely. I'll open it up for Denise here. So the ACS published an article in 23. There's anything from hormone disruption to just sort of a general inflammation. It's causing all sorts of problems. We discovered it first in animals, and then we kind of started peeling it back further with plastic tox. Denise, I know I'm missing a bunch of stuff there. You take over for me.
Oh, no, there's the research continues to come out every week. Just last weekend, I was reading an article where I believe it was in France. A study that was in France has found microplastics in ovary fluid. It has been found in the brain, the heart, placenta, mother's breast milk, semen, testes, penises. Like the list goes on. It is everywhere in the
Wow.
body. Probably the most alarming study that most people are starting to hear about is the plastic spoon worth of plastics in your brain. And this was I like to tell people when I'm out at conferences, most of the research that's coming out is on dead people.
Mm,
And I'd prefer not to wait until I'm dead for somebody to find out that I had plastics in my body.
yeah.
And it's one of the most exciting things is we can tell you now if plastics are a part of your toxic burden. There's been heavy metal tests, there's been lots of other kinds of toxic burden tests, but never the plastic. And we know
Right.
that it's a huge problem. There were probably three things that were most interesting that came out of that particular study that was released in March around the brain. And that is, number one, there was no differentiator between the age of the person, the gender, the ethnicity, or where they lived. Everybody had all the brains tissues had microplastics in them. The second interesting thing, if you want to call it that, is that the more recent that the person died, the more microplastics that were present. And the third correlation, it's not really a causation that anybody is saying yet,
Mhm.
but those brains who had a diagnosis of some sort of cognitive decline had 50% more microplastics than the brain tissue that didn't.
Interesting.
So it didn't say that the microplastics caused the
Sure.
cognitive decline. It was just a correlative perspective.
Got it.
So,
Piece of information that's very interesting if you're thinking about cognitive decline, which we all are. Amazing. Okay. So then, from your perspective, Denise, this is something that then can assist you with your clients, right?
absolutely. Any practitioner that is in the space of detoxing or environmental medicine or evaluating someone's health challenges based on all facets of health,
Mhm.
not just genetics, not just diet and exercise, but also looking at the toxic burden on a person's body.
Mm.
This is a critical component and a very easy component to bring into your practice in order to add that piece of the puzzle, as I like to say.
Right, right. So then I'm assuming then from a clinical perspective that plastic tox is that the name. I'm sorry for my ignorance here, but plastic tox, is that the name of the test?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the name of the actual test that people can order. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So then there are protocols after they take that test, depending on what the results are, what comes back from this test that a clinician would then take to their okay, got it. Got it. Understand. Okay, so this is fascinating to me. All right. So then let's talk a little bit about maybe some really interesting. I know this is brand new, but maybe there's some case studies or some more data that is coming around that would pique the interest of our listeners.
Sure. I mean, one thing that we haven't published it yet because we're still working on it, but we're noticing that differences in age, there's differences like a little bit in age because these things bioaccumulate. So that and we kind of expected that as people get older, they have more and more. We're finding a substantial difference based on zip code, which
Hmm.
which calls into now again we're just starting to crack into this a little bit, but
Sure.
it's questions of municipal water perhaps, or maybe even just air pollution by living close to big interstates, stuff like that. Be on the lookout for that. We're still putting the finishing touches on that, but we're finding some very interesting stuff with that.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. If you
Yeah.
live in a more urban area where plastics are more available to everyone every day in everything.
I wouldn't
versus
have thought though. I would have thought that age would have been a much higher indicator than zip code, but it
Mm.
turns out that it was like exactly the opposite of what I expected to see. But I suppose that's why we're in science to be proven
Right,
wrong.
right, right. Well, I mean, you could have a very mature or older person that has lived in the country
Right.
for a long time that doesn't have that same load. That I mean, I guess that could make sense. Are there any what excites you, Denise, about this from a clinical perspective? Like I mean, it again, it seems obvious to me, but what in your words would be the most exciting? What gets you on the road, right? What gets you on the road talking about this to people?
The most exciting thing is that you can measure it now.
Mm,
It has been an assumption.
mm,
I would almost say it has been an assumption that it may not be in our bodies. We know it's a problem out there, in
Mm.
the environment. And we have seen some of the articles coming that, it's the wildlife and the fish are eating it. But I don't think until you see it on paper,
Mm.
you really understand that it is in you.
Mm.
I will say personally, when I was doing the beta test in November, December with this other company, I thought I had done a pretty good job of swapping out plastics in my life. I
Mm.
had switched to the glass water bottles. We had gotten rid of the Teflon-based cooking utensils. We have moved from the plastic spatulas to the wood. So I thought that I had done a pretty good job of deplasticizing my life, if that's such a word.
It is now.
That's
There you
right.
go.
We just coined it. But when I saw my numbers come back and I had 910 particles per milliliter, which doesn't sound like a lot until you calculate how many milliliters of blood does one have in their body? And it's about 5,000, give or take. And so to do that math, and I was just shy of 5 million theoretically particles swimming in my body, I was alarmed,
Mm.
shocked, appalled, angry, whatever word you wanna put in there. Um, and so, again, testing anything gives you that realization as a consumer, as a patient, as a clinician that, okay, we have moved from some sort of theoretical thinking that it might be in our bodies to black and white.
Black and white, and it's there. And then you can start whatever process or procedure protocol that you desire in order to try your best to begin to detox, because I can only imagine that that is a process in and of itself. And is that something that you as a team are working on, or is that something that clinicians just, in their training know how to do?
I would say that the process of detoxing is been a little bit of a journey because, again, you think you might be doing it, but until you can prove it, we
Mm,
don't know if you are or not.
right.
We do know, Alan shared this with me early on, that in general, when somebody starts making those lifestyle changes, in about 6 to 9 months, we can generally see those numbers come down.
Okay.
We have heard theoretical that saunas might help get rid of microplastics. We are in conversations with a couple of sauna companies to maybe help us do some of that. See if there's proof
Research.
in the pudding.
Mhm.
And the probably one of the more exciting things is the company that did the beta test actually has a supplement that is able to prove that they are able to get rid of those microplastics. So that's
Wow.
probably some of the most exciting work is that we can test it and we can show that whatever intervention you're going to use, we can prove whether it's working or not. And
Yeah.
those numbers are going down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing I want to throw out here
Yeah,
while we're
go.
while we're touching on it. Another big thing that you can do, and this is the one that I like to recommend, in addition to the lifestyle stuff, of course, is donating blood. Every single time we've seen somebody donate blood, it measurably goes down, right?
Hmm.
Because you've taken the blood out that has some plastics and you've made new fresh blood. So it's it's good for you, it's good for the community. It's just another reason everybody donate blood. Get to it.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, it might have some microplastics in it, but yeah, donate some blood, people.
They do
That's
filter it.
hey,
I looked
listen,
into it. They
they do
filter it
filter
before
it
they
out.
yes, before they give it to the next guy, they at least put it
Oh
through some
my
preliminary
gosh,
filters.
y'all.
So
We just solved a massive
yeah,
problem. Go
it's
donate
good.
some blood. You'll clean your blood.
Yes.
You'll you'll save somebody else,
Yep.
hopefully. And oh my goodness, that's wow. What a thing. Look at that. Oh, I love that. It's like a full circle, solution here is what we're talking
Absolutely.
about. And in a world full of plastic. I love that. Oh my goodness. Okay, so that's wonderful. Are there any other like I mean, I've heard of let's get rid of the plastics in your home and all of the things, Denise, you were just mentioning I'm also trying to do in my home, and, removing these Teflon plastic, utensils, and doing your best to not have the plastic straws and all of the things, right?
Mhm.
Is there any, like, besides, I mean, the blood test or the giving of the blood, that's a beautiful, surprising benefit. But is there anything else that you would say, at the very least, people need to do to start now?
Sure. There's the two that I tell people, it's sort of the easiest ones, is to get not to use the disposable water bottles, right? It's just any filter you can afford to put on your tap. There are good ones. There's even ones that are built for microplastics, but any filtered tap, a decent filter on the tap into a stainless steel, that's going to be a step in the right direction. And
Okay.
the food is another one. Heat and light are what makes plastic break down. So even if you're not going to go full organic and stuff, if you at least can take that lean cuisine and put it into a skillet and heat it in there instead of microwaving it, it's not, you know, a good plan that you follow is better than a perfect one that you don't. So that's my
Sure.
those are my two easy steps.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's really good advice. And you would suggest stainless steel and glass, or stainless steel? Because, if we're talking about toxic load, are we going to have any issues with metal in a stainless steel? I don't know enough to
If
know.
you use good stainless steel, so again, there's a lot. A
Sure.
reputable vendor of stainless steel is a good way to go. Uh,
Okay.
I believe Denise is a bigger fan of glass than I am. I'm not a fan of it, but because I'm a klutz and I have cats that knock
Oh,
stuff over, so I'm. But
well,
they're
that's
both
more of a
health
lifestyle
wise.
situation.
Yes,
Got it.
Yeah.
health wise, they're both excellent.
Yeah.
Good. Good. Good to know. I think that those are simple, easy things that people can start to really look around themselves. And I mean, even my son the other day did not want to touch the receipt that came out from our purchase
Mhm.
that we had. And
Yeah.
because they're, again, these
EPA.
youngins, they know what they're talking
Yeah.
about, and he just didn't even want to touch it. So wonderful. Okay. So then why don't we fast forward a little bit? You guys, this whole system is fairly new, right? We are
Yes.
in its infancy of what you are going to accomplish with Plastic Talks and Aero Labs. So let's dream a little bit about the future of healthcare. So if you were able to, and including your test and your results in there, what would be, if you had that magic wand and you could wave it, what would be your dream for the future of healthcare when we're talking about root cause or preventative types of healthcare?
It's we're working with a few different companies that actually are showing some promise. Detox protocols, different sorts of filtration, blood filtration, plasmapheresis, stuff like that. It that's the thing. It's if we can turn this ship around faster. Now,
Mhm.
obviously, what needs to happen is environmental, and like you said, a magic wand. Well, I'd rather go back 100 years and they never invented it to begin with. But if it's it's great that we can prevent and that we can kind of slowly take it out. But I think the thing that's going to make people real happy is when they have something that's accessible and inexpensive that they can, take. I'm not sure which form it's going to be. The research will show, but that's really what would make me the happiest. Is that is an easy, accessible way to go the other direction and
Love
quickly.
that. Gotcha. Well, that would be lovely. I think that both of those things, and I mean, I agree. It would be lovely to not have this, but plastic is everywhere. It is everywhere. And I love what you said, Alan, about how when you even just started the idea of this, and how do we package this thing up, and you're running into all of these issues about just the packaging in and of itself. So yes, I think that I applaud you. I think that what
Thank you.
you are doing is extremely necessary. It is something that not enough people are thinking about, and it can really assist so many people in their detox journey, or in their just day-to-day life of trying to live the best excuse me, healthiest life that they possibly can. So I just want to thank you for your time today, and for sharing the beginnings of what is going to be so incredible. We just need to get out the word, about what this is to more people, more practitioners, so that they can utilize these data points and understand that there is something that they can do from this toxic load perspective of what we can finally have, which is numbers on paper, like Deniece said. So, and I think we might have lost her, but that's okay. Thank you so much for your time today, Alan and Deniece, that is now off in the netherworld. And you keep us posted about everything that's happening. We're just so pleased to be connected to you and partnering with you on this journey.
And thank you so much for having me on. And again, you can follow us on socials. We will be we have some publications that are going to be coming out this year, and we'll keep you adrift on those.
Fantastic. We'll make sure to put all of those in the notes too, all of the links to everything
Awesome.
that we need. So you keep sending them to us and we'll put it in the
Yes.
links. Awesome.
Awesome.
Have a great
Thank you
day.
so much. You too. Bye.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Change Life Destiny podcast. If you loved what you heard, share it with a friend and follow us for more bold conversations and breakthrough ideas. Ready to take the next step? Visit changelifedestiny.com to join the movement. See you next time, and keep diving in, learning, and leading the change.